Welcome to the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast, episode number 52.
52.
And this special episode is brought to you by the number one.
Is this
the number 52?
Is this the electric company?
And the letter F.
Uh-oh. Okay,
Number one, because this is at the first anniversary of our podcast.
Okay.
The 52nd show. It's number episode 52.
It looks like the same balloon as for the 50th.
No, it's totally different.
Is that why it says 52nd? 52th?
52th. That's trademark, by the way.
Okay.
We've protected the 52th.
Okay.
And we've also got some things to introduce, but maybe a little bit more about that later. Why we will introduce why 52 is important for the show.
It's a big show. We've got, again, this is marking 1 year of the podcast.
Mm-hmm. That's an accomplishment.
We're going to show the Fender pickup winder from the Jim Irsay auction, which we have now named, called the Fullerton 457.
That's where the F
comes that's the
in.
F. Okay. And then we're going to play some pickups made on that machine. That is the T52 set. Mm-hmm. Based upon a 52 set we had in here for repair.
That's where the 52 comes in again. There are 52s everywhere this episode, rather.
And we have Paul here. There's Paul. See, he's
Hello,
here
everyone.
for Todd's not here for the 52nd show, but he'll be here for another one. We're quite sure of that. So let's get right into it. We're also going to have what you called this sort of like ThroBak Home Movies.
Yeah. You made a little video yesterday.
I made a little video about the fully restored Fullerton 457 winding machine. It was supposed to be a little video, but it's like 20 minutes almost.
But it's all gold.
It's all gold. We'll watch it together. Matthew even got snacks for everybody. Look at that. You went to the store. You bought snacks. Paul, you have some snacks there, don't you?
I do.
Paul, so he's excited about that. Look, yeah, he's eating popcorn.
I got
So,
some popcorn too.
If you've got snacks, you may want to enjoy them while watching the information about the Fullerton 457 winder that you will only find here on ThroBak. And we're not overstating that.
No.
There is information within this machine that I frankly was not expecting, and makes it unique and a perfect addition, and another piece of proof as to why, with a vintage reproduction pickup, the machines matter, even with a hand wound pickup like a Fender. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go through all that with the video that I shot yesterday that we will view together. So first, Matthew, we'll go quickly to the ThroBak Mailbox. There was a complaint about you. We are not sure what the complaint really means, but you're going to read it.
It was in the comment section for episode 51 that's up on YouTube, and it just said, quote, some guy interview for, quote, some guitar magazine. And then it said, would be great if Matthew's brain would work better.
Oh, well, we've thought that for a long time.
And
Matthew.
I said, you better just get in line and take a number.
Paul, you've said that before, right? Matthew, it'd be great if Matthew's brain worked better.
I absolutely have not said that.
That's what he says.
That makes me suspicious. You should talk to my daughters. They probably agree with this guy.
Maybe they're fans of the show. Well,
yeah.
They gotta.
And I don't know what that is. I didn't go through the part of the show. And I can't remember where it came
perhaps
from.
If your brain worked better, you'd know.
That's right.
Well, I think we're all perfectly pleased with your brain power, Matthew.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Okay, so we're going to get right into the video. We'll call this part of the pickups of the week.
Yeah.
Because we'll follow this up by playing the pickups of the week, which were wound on this very machine. We're going to play this 19-minute long video, and it's me talking about the particulars of the Fender 457
No,
So
the Fullerton, not Fender.
Okay, it's not. It's Fullerton 457 winder,
Right.
and kind of what it took to get it back to what I believe is the original state that it was at, condition, set up at Fender, and also kind of some clues as to how old this machine may be.
Mm-hmm.
So we will start watching that. Matthew, we will mute ourselves.
Oh, let me just say, I was thinking about it today. The show will premiere on Saturday, May the 9th. But
Yes.
we purchased this winder at auction on March 17th, and I think we received it within 7 to 10 days after that.
Yeah.
And then it's sort of been nonstop. Things have been happening with it. So
Yeah.
we haven't been sitting on our laurels.
No, we've been rebuilt the motor.
Yeah.
I've bought a bunch of replacement counters, although the one on there works fine.
Mm-hmm.
I've had parts made at machine shop. I've made some parts myself.
Yep.
I've had to kind of fix the cord on it because the cord was so cracked that it
Brittle.
It was very brittle.
Yeah.
The plastic on it, well, rubber, I guess, on it, and then winding test pickups on it, which we will play after the video. Oh, also too, the guitar argument for today is, I wrote this down. It is it's going to kind of be a reminder to people as to what ThroBak electronics is all about in terms of making a repro pickup. And so the guitar argument will be good, great, and exceptional aftermarket pickups. Is there a difference? Does it matter? You know, what the pickups are and what they claim to be. But that'll be after this video that we're going to show here. Matthew, are you ready?
I'm ready.
You haven't even seen this, so
No.
You've seen. I mean, I think I showed you a little bit, and
Last night, yeah.
and you agreed that if this was the kind of detail that our viewers would like, I'm afraid it might,
No.
drive away the audience. But it's the kind of thing I find very fascinating.
No, I think our viewers will enjoy this. I think this is because you're resurrecting a piece of guitar pickup history
Yeah.
that has been dormant for
Yes.
a while.
Yeah, and the only other time this thing has been working in a pickup making facility of any size was at Fender. It was locked away. It was Charlie Davis used it for his little sort of repair winding pickup making business that he ran out of his garage. But, real actual pickup making facility, Fender's the last place this thing was in operation under that sort of setup.
Mm-hmm.
So we will play the video. Matthew, you ready?
Well, I think tell everyone they should
You get your snacks.
get your snack, dim the lights,
You'll
and
be-
enjoy
Dim the lights.
ThroBak Home. We have dim the lights when you watch your home movies.
Okay.
Okay, it's more enjoyable.
So, Matthew, since you're the first time viewer of this,
Okay, I'll be
I'll be
like the audience.
If you want me to pause it to comment,
Okay,
you tell me,
I will.
and I will mute my crunching and yours too. But let's start watching right
Okay,
now.
here it goes.
Okay, viewers of the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast, episode 52. I'm going to do a quick video here to commemorate the 52nd episode. And we will reveal the name of the Fender Fuller. Well, we're going to call this winder the Fender winder that we bought at the Jim Irsay Collection auction that we've been showing all of the steps needed in order to get this thing running properly. We have decided we will name this machine the Fullerton 457 winder because it was lot 457 of this is a tag here from the Christie's auction, 457, lot 457 of that auction. So we will reveal the secrets, well, I guess they're kind of secrets, of this machine and kind of what we've sussed out as far as what this machine was like when it was at Fender. And so I will do some close-up videos of that and give you a few of those details. And I may even run the machine. We're working on a set which we will play later in the show called the T52 set, again, to commemorate the 52nd episode of the podcast. But it is also based upon a 52 Telecaster set that we had in the shop for repair and the information we got from that. So I'm still working on the specs for the neck pickup. So I'll maybe show how this thing runs when it's got a bombet on it. But let me show you the details quickly here of the machine itself and kind of what I think may kind of point to what the history of the machine is and the age of it. So let's do that. Okay, here's a close look at the Jim Irsay winder that we will now call the Fullerton 457 winder here at ThroBak. This is basically how the machine arrived here, minus this part, which I'll explain that part later. But when we first looked at this, the thought was, can we come up with a reasonable estimate as to when this was made? And also, can we reconstruct how this machine was when it was at Fender? There are a few holes on the top here. Some appear to be for mounting this to a table, but there's also a few holes here that appeared to have a purpose. The most obvious one is this large hole that has dried glue in the bottom. And you probably can't tell from the photo, but this dried glue is has taken the shape of a bottle that had been glued in there. You can feel kind of the rounded edges of the glue that's left behind and hardened there. So I thought to myself, what would possibly be a bottle that you would glue into a winding machine like this that would be important enough to have a permanent spot for it? Well, I thought about it a little bit, and remember there is an interview with Forrest White where he explains that Leo Fender instructed the women winding pickups to use a drop of 3-in-1 oil on their fingertips to kind of allow the wire to pass through their fingers when they wind pickups. So I went to eBay and I thought to see if they had round glass 3-in-1 oil bottles. And I found one right there. I ordered it. Now I did fill it with new oil, but let's see if it fits. It fits. So I think this is a likely explanation as to what that hole was for. Now, you not only want to use the 3-in-1 oil for your fingers, but also the pivot points and bearings on this machine need to be oiled regularly. This mandrel is held in place by an axle running through a bronze bearing. So to keep that working properly, it needs to be regularly oiled. So the next question is, well, how do you get the oil from the bottle onto the spot there? If you look at old instructions for 3-in-1 oil, they say to use a transfer tool, and what better transfer tool than a little screwdriver? So that fit. I think that went there. Transfer the oil from there. Plus, it's also the screwdriver size that needs to be used to remove this pulley when you have to replace the rubber band. So that. Okay, so we have these other holes here. We found, in fact, Matthew found a photograph of the machine before Mike Eldred sold it to Jim Irsay. And in that photo was more of these mounting fixtures, which we had made up. This came with one mounting fixture for the mandrel here. And these come out of the end of it here, and you put the bobbin on here. on this little mounting fixture. And they have different sizes for different size bobbins. And the interesting part of this little mounting fixture, which we had recreated, which there was one still here, but to get the full variety, we had to make a few more. These are made with a part that would have been familiar to Leo Fender, which is an aluminum threaded standoff, which is what this is, that would have been commonly used in radios of the time. So he made this with parts that he was familiar with of that era. So they're secured in place with this little Allen key and nut in there, and that goes there. So now we have a question as to what the fixtures were for mounting the bobbin here. And we found photographs with this winder, and also the still existing winder that is at the Fullerton Museum for the Charlie Davis exhibit that's there right now. And they had two of these mounting plates in the photograph, which I made to duplicate. So these back up the bobbins and allow it to be securely held on here if the bobbin faces towards mandrel and without the magnets getting in the way. So now we have that complete, little bronze nut and lock washer, and we have the complete kit as I believe it was at Fender, except for this one additional item that was in the photo at the Fullerton exhibit, and that is there is another pulley on this side of the motor. I had our machine shop, our machine shop friends make this, and it's an additional pulley, and I don't know if it was there as just a Fender maybe had made an extra one and they put it on this, or if this serves a little bit of a flywheel to stabilize the rotation of this motor. This motor is vulnerable to voltage changes, just regular line voltage changes. The speed ramps up and down just from the voltage in the building going up and down, and it does seem to stabilize it a little bit to have that flywheel on there. Where if this is indeed acting as a flywheel, it does seem to help a little bit by stabilizing the rotation of the motor a bit. Okay, so back to how old this machine be. This 3-in-1 oil bottle was, the history of 3-in-1 oil is that in 1936 they went to a metal can, kind of a rectangular metal can that probably a lot of you are familiar with. During World War II, they stopped using the metal cans because of metal shortages. And they went back to a rectangular glass bottle and this round glass bottle. And they stopped making this round glass bottle after 1946. 1946 is the year Fender was founded. Now, did they buy it in 1946? If in fact I'm right about this being a place to put some 3-1 oil, did they buy it in 1946, or did they have a bottle? Was there a bottle on the shelf somewhere, still in the round glass bottle? I don't know. But this, at the very least, I think points to a very early machine in the life of Fender. The other factor with this is this counter is still, well, the company that made this, there's still a version of this being made, but the company that made this started in 1946. And I think this is a very early version of it because I bought some replacements. This has a glass window, and later ones, I assume later ones, many of the ones I have are plastic. So I assume this is a very early example Is it from 1946? I don't know. Maybe, could be. But again, pointing to a very early creation of this machine in the history of Fender, I believe. So this machine should do, we're going to do Stratocaster, Telecaster pickups. Right now we're doing the prototypes for the T52 set. We'll play that later in the show. There are a few other interesting details with this machine. One of them is, and I wasn't expecting this, but this counter setup affects the rotation of this enough and the tension with this counter that I'm quite sure it affects how even a hand-wound pickup is made on this. I'll switch it on, and maybe I can show with... okay, so this doesn't have a smooth rotation. The counter is spring-loaded. I'll put a bobbin on here, and maybe it makes it a little clearer. The effect of this is, I actually measure the tension on this. The tension that this provides is in the range of what you want tension 42 gauge wire for. This is sort of self-tensioning, doesn't require as much tension when you're running it as it would if it had a smoother rotation. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but the fact is it does this. And of the 3 known machines to still exist that were at Fender, 2 of them have these sort of tally activated counters rather than a rotational counter. So this may have been the norm for those old machines at Fender, and I think is really part of the winding peculiarities, even of a hand-wound pickup made there, and therefore the sound as well. So let me put a bobbin on here, and I'll slow it down and maybe show you. Maybe you can kind of get an idea of how that affects it. I'll be right back. Okay, before I wind something, I thought I'll mention this too. The reason I believe that this system was set up by Fender for mounting bobbins through this little standoff system is that it's quicker to put the whole assembly together and then just attach it to the machine like this than it is to kind of fumble with it when you're done winding the bobbin or when you're setting it up for a new one. So it's just a way to streamline it. So even back then they were thinking of, I think they were working out with this machine's like what kind of machine would create the easiest workflow for making pickups. Oh, also too, I might as well point out, I'm using a hand speed controller. This originally would have had a sewing machine foot pedal speed controller, which I tried, and it works fine, but it gets really hot and it smells like ozone, like a lot. So this is an easier setup that doesn't have the heat problem. So in fact, actually, if the Charlie Davis setup that they have at the Fullerton Museum, he actually has a version of this sort of tabletop speed controller at the display they have there. Okay, I'll set this up and we'll run the machine just starting to wind this pickup. Okay, I'm going to try to do this with while holding the camera. I don't think this is going to end up being a finished pickup, but for the purposes of showing you here, I can kind of demonstrate at a slower speed what this machine does and how I'm sure it's doing this at a faster speed, but it has a bit of a herky-jerky movement that I'll turn up the speed here, that you can see at a slower speed. The rubber band is the belt. It's well known that Fender used rubber bands for this. But the spring-loaded part of this for the counter has an effect on the tension of the bobbin as it rotates. So the noise associated with that keeps going on, and I'm sure it is continuing to have this action as we get it up to a normal winding speed. But why I think that's important is kind of one of the main variables that affects the sound of a pickup and the distribution of the wire and therefore the sound, whether it's hand wound or machine wound, is the tension. And having this variable tension, I'm sure, is affecting how the wire is distributed. So again, if the goal is to duplicate a vintage hand wound Fender pickup, you obviously have the variable of the person winding it. There are patterns associated with vintage pickups that people who have repaired them know. But there's also this variable of machine that no one had mentioned prior, and is obviously baked into some of these machines, because again, of the 3 existing machines, this is the only one operational still, but of those 3 old Fender machines, 2 of them have this sort of tally push rod counter system. So that is another interesting, but I think essential detail why the machines matter with this stuff. Was it designed to do this specifically? I kind of doubt it, as far as controlling the tension this way. But I did measure the tension of this. This length of this arm is shorter than the arm that came with this counter, either through trial and error or with a gram tensioning gauge, which we have here, and which were available in the 50s. In fact, many of the ones we have are old, and I'm sure were probably made in the 50s. I think they probably measured it, just so they would know that they had the tension in a range that was not going to stress the wire. But the other effect of it is it actually tensions the wire. So anyway, that's it. I'll go back to the show now, and hopefully this has been informative. Okay, Matthew, we're back.
That's it?
That's it.
I was going to do more. I thought was very good.
You're disappointed it didn't go on further? Did it generate any questions on?
Well,
should we check with Paul and see if he's awake? Paul, are there any questions that his no question? Well, let's get back to Matthew. I think Paul's in a semi-comatose state after that.
Well, Paul didn't get to see the video. He just had to hear it.
He just got to hear it.
So, not using the sewing machine foot controller.
Yes.
Is that going to affect?
Well, I thought about that. I don't think so, because the sewing machine foot controller. If you look at the one I have, it's an old one. It has a little a hole kind of in the pedal that you could put a little bolt in or a screw or something to kind of set a stop point for the speed of it. So which I think they would probably have to do, because you don't want to get that thing going too fast. So I think there's an easy solution for kind of having a stop limit on the speed with the pedal. And the way when I'm doing it with either the pedal or a knob, there is a little bit, as the motor heats up, it starts running a little faster, as it just warms up. So you've got to ride it a little bit, and I assume they did that with the pedal, and I can do that with the knob too. So I do have the additional sort of control of actually the little thing shows the voltage on the knob portion of what I'm looking at, but I think it's pretty close to 6 of one and half a dozen of the other, without again the heat problem of the foot pedal and the ozone smell. And the one I had it was an old one. The foot pedal I have looked new, but it as it heated up, you could tell it was in a home for many, many years with a cigar smoker.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Captured that.
Anyway, I don't really want to. I don't think there's any benefit to the pedal.
And I found it interesting, all the little bits and pieces that you found for the holes. That's one thing I was thinking. Wait a minute. If let's say they did glue that bottle of oil in, how are you supposed to get the oil out or put it on your fingers?
I actually did look. I typed that into Google,
but they would say
they actually, I believe they call it a transfer tool.
Transfer tool,
like a piece of a stick, a piece of wood, or a screwdriver.
Screwdriver would be good.
And you don't want a lot of oil on it.
No,
because the oil, you don't want the oil getting on the pulley that has the rubber band on it. Then it's going to slip.
Mm-hmm.
So in a way, kind of the screwdriver is a pretty good way to transfer some oil.
It's a tiny bit.
A screwdriver, just some small item. And too, if you need to get it on your fingers, you just dip it in there and just touch your fingers to it. And my guess is, if I'm right about this 3-in-1 oil thing, it was just sort of to reiterate that, hey, put the oil on your finger. But even probably more important than that is oil the bearings on this thing, because they're not ball bearings. It's just a steel shaft through a bronze bearing collar.
Okay, and
it's got to be oiled for it to avoid wear, and just to run smoothly. It doesn't have the advantage of having ball bearings that would keep it running smoothly, even if it wasn't necessarily perfectly oiled. It's actually, it's about an inch long area there that has steel drive shaft against the bronze bearing, and to make it run smoothly, it's got to be oiled. So, and the other thing is, I didn't mention this, but if you look at the video, and maybe I'll just pull this up here real quick. Okay, viewers of the ThroBak Guitar Lounge Podcast, episode 52. Let me see if I can find the spot in it. Okay, if you look just to the front of the motor there are a few holes where they obviously had the motor mounted before. Mm-hmm. With this machine, the plug was originally put in the front, and at some point, and if I had to guess, it would be when Charlie Davis brought this home, he wanted the plug in the back. Someone wanted the plug in the back. And the spot that they put the plug in the back of this machine, it actually, if you use I had to replace one screw on this to get it in what I believe is the original spot for this, because the longer screw, it almost touches the plug wire in the spot where they relocated the plug to the back. So I suspect that they may have done it and got shocked.
And this is the plug for the foot controller.
For the foot controller. Right. The way this thing is made is it's got a female plug on the machine, and then the power is transferred basically with a cord that has 2 male ends, which would never be allowed today.
Right.
Because if you unplug it, you've got a hot lead. It's the opposite of what you would expect, from a lamp plugged into the wall.
Right.
So anyway, I remedied that by very carefully taping the area where the plug is on the back, and also putting a shorter screw on that one corner of where the motor is mounted.
Now, speaking about the bass, you didn't talk about the bass in this video, but we have shown it, I think, in some previous videos. What can you tell us about the bass?
It's a really nice piece of ash. It's lightweight. In fact,
And so we think it's a body blank.
oh yeah, it's 1 3/4, and the bottom side is not finished. It's rough.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. So, is the body going to be this is kind of finished sanded on one side, not the bottom, and I assume this is just how the wood came to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they thicknessed it down to the right size for a bass or a guitar, or
Right.
Telecaster. So
It's definitely ash. I mean,
yeah, it's absolutely for sure. In fact,
if you look at the grain,
I think you can. If you look right on the top of the counter there, you can see kind of some of the ash grain through the paint on this thing. Okay. Well, all right. Are there more questions, Matthew? Should we go on to the...
no, I think we'd go on and listen to...
okay. So we're going to do
Pickups
pickups a week. We're going to play the T52 set, which was wound on this very machine. I played these at band practice, and they sounded great.
Mm-hmm.
And distinctly different than the Nocaster set I was comparing them against. Now, there's differences in specs and how it was wound and everything, but I guess I haven't done the... I guess ideally I would want to do a sort of A/B comparison with a set wound on this machine and on the Fullerton 457 machine and the Coeco machine that actually these things are still at the Gibson Custom Shop, but they have
Fender.
Fender, and they have auto stop counters, but it's a rotational counter, so you have very smooth movement of the bobbin. Rather than this style, which has a rubber band and the counter actually offers a counter tension resistance against that rotation of the bobbin from the rubber band, and causes this sort of like jerky movement that repeats even at high speeds. But I haven't done that yet. But they do sound different. So we'll play that. I'll get the guitar, and we will be right back. Okay, we're back, and show the guitars here. I'm going to play. I've got these in I guess this is a 51 Fender American Vintage Reissue 2. Is that what they call these now?
I believe that's correct. Yeah, American Vintage 2, I think. Do they call it reissue? I'm not sure. American Vintage 2.
Yeah, and we're playing it through a Fender Deluxe Reverb. Let's get the picture of the amp there. I've got that. And you can look at the knobs there. The volume a little over 2. Yeah, that's a treble. That's a photo I took, but it's same settings. A treble a little bit above 5. Bass just a hair below 6. Maybe it's 6. Reverb off. Reverb here is supplied by the aux box. Okay, let's see here. And also, we're for the dirtier tones, we'll be using the Nobles Overdrive ODR1 Gold Edition that has the bass trim pot on it. If you have a Nobles ODR1X and just don't use the X button on it, it has this same bass trim pot on it, and I've A/B'd them. I've got both. Sound the same. So I would recommend, if you can't find this gold one, which there's not many anymore, the ODR1X is a very good substitute for it. And you get the additional feature of high gain if you wanted it. So let's see here. Okay, in terms of these pickups, this is a prototype set, but I made 2 versions that we played at band practice this week.
Right.
And this was my preferred. Well, everybody agreed that the bridge pickup in this was the preferred one. And so I'm locked in on the specs for this. The target for this is 7K. And again, though, this the Fullerton 457 winder is not an auto stop machine. So I will try my best to stop at the number of turns to get this at 7K, but it will vary a little bit. And the neck pickup, I've gone through several versions of this. This one's pretty close to where I want it. Right now, as it stands, this is 6.5K. But right now, I'm trying to establish the balance between resistance level and brightness of the pickup. So let's play it. This is just clean through the deluxe reverb here. Let's see.
You got the neck pickup on there?
This is C. Let's do the middle. Okay, bridge. Sounds very good, doesn't it? I mean, it sounds very good and sort of retro. I mean,
I like it.
yeah.
It had some. I found the when I played one of the guitars with that bridge pickup has a nice girth to it.
Yeah, the low end is got sort of a nice pop, but it's also nice sort of deep sound to it.
Mm-hmm.
Shoot.
It sounds very nice.
Let's play a little clean too.
Okay.
In C, Matthew. I'll turn your bass down just a touch. Okay. That's probably enough of that. But these are not on the website yet. But the specs will be finalized very soon. And we will have them on the website. And you will be able to purchase pickups made on the Fullerton 457 winder in a pickup production facility of the scope and scale of ThroBak Electronics for the first time since Fender.
Kind of cool.
Yeah, I agree. We're gonna. It's here. The machine's right here.
It's right here.
It's right here, along with all of the Gibson machines we've got, and it's cool. I mean, if you ask me, it's super cool. And again, there's this added element to the machine that honestly, frankly, I was not expecting, because that tally counter thing with the little arm. I don't know any pickup makers that use that. There's a lot of guys out there that have, a sewing machine motor with a counter that is a rotary counter, and not the lever counter that is spring activated. But clearly Fender used that, and it does something to the rotation of that bobbin that is baked into the machine, and I don't know anybody who's doing that. In fact, frankly, I'm quite sure that people are going to watch this video, pickup makers, and they'll start doing this. And that's fine. We've got the machine, though. And again, not only do we have the machine, it's not as simple as just putting that counter on a winder. The little arm for that thing is trimmed down to a very specific point, that it's shorter than the length of the arm came with, because I bought some replacements. And then also the access point for that lever on the pulley is at a very specific point, which affects the counter tension combined with that arm. We've got all that info because we've got the machine, and we're not letting people in here to copy it or any of the other stuff. Last time I checked. So, okay, let's go to the guitar argument, Matthew.
Okay.
We'll put the guitars away, and we will go to the guitar argument, which is about good. What was my
good,
theme?
great, and exceptional.
Good, great, and exceptional pickup reproductions or aftermarket pickups, and this is kind of related to a thread right now that's trending on the Gear page.
Gearpage.net.
Yeah, so we'll be right back with that guitar argument. Okay, we're back. Matthew, you've read the thread that's trending on the Gear page right now. Mm-hmm. And what is the title of it?
Throwbacks versus the rest in a Les Paul traditional.
Okay, so the upshot of this is how do throwbacks compared against other available pickups. I assume this is a kind of PAF style pickup in a Les Paul traditional, which is not the top tier of a Fender, or not a Fender, and Fender, a Gibson Les Paul recreation. So okay, so the upside shot of this. What's your impression before we start to argue about this of the thread?
Well, so they're asking the question.
I think it's like, how many pages was it?
8.
It was 8 at this
eight
point.
when I looked at it this afternoon. So the person is asking, with the cost of ThroBaks, should I purchase a set of these? Are they worth it? Will they give me the tone I'm looking for? Will they hold their value? Will it increase the value of my guitar? So then he got various responses back.
Okay, I've mentioned this before, that my feeling with something like a PAF and to a lot of Fender designs is that they're so good. The reason they sort of endure is the original design is so good that it's hard to screw it up. So if you're making an aftermarket pickup in any price range, you almost have to try to make something that is not at least good, right? So then that comes down to what are the kind of different tiers of an aftermarket pickup. So I was thinking about it. You have good, great, and exceptional. And what's important to you as the buyer, and what are the differences between good, great, and exceptional? We're going to talk about like great, exceptional, not exceptionally bad. We'll just put those out of the mix. But, okay, so you're going to argue, I'll argue that, the ThroBak pickups fall into the exceptional category. And if you're looking for an exceptional pickup, we're at the top of the list. And you are going to be on the side of the argument that
I'm going to take the point of view of some of the people, or not all the people, but some of the people on the thread that
there's the ThroBak defenders out there.
There
on
are
the thread.
There are,
but you're going to take the go ahead. I don't want to put words in your mouth on this highly divisive topic.
I'm going to take the position that save your money and just go for the mainstay.
Go for the bread and butter, or sort of meat and potatoes, good to great pickup.
Right.
Okay. And two, the reason this seemed apropos for the 50-second show is not only the timing of this thread, but I mean, the purpose of the podcast is to kind of get all of the information about what ThroBak makes to the viewing public that is interested in the same things we are. Mm-hmm. And also so we can share all the details that make, we believe, ThroBak pickups exceptional aftermarket pickups, unique in a category by themselves. But you're going to argue the other side of this. Thank you, Matthew. Okay. Ready? 5 minutes. Right. You can start?
Sure. You want me to start?
You go now.
Okay. ThroBaks are overpriced. And I may be looking for a job after the end of this.
I don't want to go out.
You should go. You should go for some good, solid Seymour Duncan.
Okay.
The JBs and the
DiMarzio,
and good set of DiMarzio. I have a soft spot personally in my heart for the Super Distortion. That was the first aftermarket pickup that my brother put in his Japanese 335 bolt-on guitar.
Bolt-on 335.
I'm pretty sure it was a bolt-on. Wow. Maybe it wasn't, but it was the person to get to do something to it to control. They took a
does that say it right all right there? I put a Super Distortion in my bolt-on 335 copy.
Well, I'll take it back. I don't think it was a bolt-on, but it did have a big hole in the back of it.
It had a big hole.
Well, I think that's
in the 335.
They didn't know how to change that. We didn't do that. My brother
no
didn't
compromise
do that.
There.
They just took a jigsaw or something and cut a hole to get to the tone and the volume pot. Anyway, you can do just fine with some good,
some baling wire, tape, and nails.
No. I'm just saying, a good set of Seymour Duncan, a good set of DiMarzio pickups, and you don't need.
You're on your way. You're on your way to tonal nirvana right there. Okay. So now I will agree that you can get that these these major brands, they make a good to great pickup. And when you are looking in only dollar terms, they're very good. They're a very good value. And but I will maintain that there are guitar players out there who have, in fact, maybe of the sort of intermediate to advanced guitar players, that very often the goal is to have an instrument or strive to have an instrument that is in the exceptional category in terms of, and let's face it, the guitar is the electric guitar, and even the guitar itself, it is dominated by the vintage designs, shapes, guitars of the 1950s and 60s. Mm-hmm. 70s are creeping in there, I guess, but really 1950s and 60s are considered the exceptional instruments in this category, out of the reach of most. But if you are an intermediate to advanced player, and it's only natural for a good, very large number of players in that category to strive for an exceptional instrument, and that usually means an instrument that is in the upper price tier. Why is it up in the upper price tier for an exceptional instrument? These are instruments that are made in the United States. They are made very often with details and processes that are more hand-oriented than just based upon, because of the age of the design and the effort to duplicate it precisely. So if you have a guitar like that, it is only natural that you would want to put an exceptional pickup in it, because the ultimate goal is to have an exceptional guitar with exceptional tone, exceptional accuracy in every regard, exceptional features, and exceptional specifications. And if you're talking about reproduction pickups, ThroBak is in the exceptional category. And our determination for price is not price first, details second. Find details, specifications, and tone that fits the price. It's have a USA-made pickup with the accuracy in every regard to the best of vintage in tone, winding capabilities, materials, cosmetics, dimensional specifications, as close as we can get it to a vintage pickup. And then what the price is to for us to accomplish that is how we determine the price to the customer. And there's lots of things that go into that.
What does that buzzing mean?
That means your 5 minutes was up.
Did I win?
I don't know. Okay, well, so let's go to the cool.
Okay,
we'll go to the cool down.
Go to the cool down. But when you were laying out your argument, so the thing that I was thinking, I was like, well, again, what's the difference between, say, the Seymour Duncan and the ThroBak, or some other very good makers there? The thought that came to my head was, well, okay, how responsive is the pickup?
Yeah.
And I think that's what some players want.
Yeah.
When they roll back tone or they roll back the volume, they want.
Well, I think the truth is, yes,
responsiveness.
In that regard, there are many people that can offer a very responsive pickup. Seymour Duncan, absolutely. DiMarzio, absolutely. Smaller makers, absolutely. But there are compromises if vintage accuracy is the end goal. There are details that there's specifications that have to drift away from the vintage spec in order to get that price lower. And again, since a pickup is a culmination of parts, pieces, even metallurgy differences, winding differences, each one of these components drifts the specs in every one of these categories further away from vintage. And if your goal is a vintage reproduction, there's no getting around that part of it. You absolutely can have a very responsive pickup, but in the good to great category, but what we're concerned with is the exceptional level of tone accuracy, winding accuracy, material accuracy, everything, cosmetics for vintage. So let's say, we were talking about this before the podcast. What is a Les Paul historic reissue? It is going to range from, it's going to start for Les Paul at $5,000.
Mm-hmm. And if you get Murphy age, then they're going over 10. Well, between 7, 9, 10.
Kind of mid to high 7 for an R9, maybe into 8. This is of the showing of this, and then you add Murphy Lab stuff on top of that, and the price goes higher and higher and higher. So it's perfectly reasonable in terms of if you're going through that level of sort of effort to get an accurate reproduction, the pickups have to be in that equation. And we maintain that we have winding capabilities and a level of accuracy that is exceptional in this category. And we share all this information through videos and this podcast in order for customers to be aware of it. But kind of an unintended consequence of this is, in a way, it's almost some of this information is information that a pickup maker might pay a consultant for, but we want to share it because, first of all, we think it'd be great if more people are making highly accurate reproduction pickups, but we're excited about those details that we bake into our pickups. And we want the customers to know, and the prices associated with doing this. We don't want to just say, we're making an expensive pickup. We want people to know why it's an expensive pickup. I'll give you an example. What arrived this week, Matthew? Here at the ThroBak Guitar.
Well, one of our custom-made parts, you had more screws.
Okay. So just pole screws.
Arrived today. Just pole screws for the pickups.
Pole screws. We're just talking about pole screws.
For P90 and for the PAF.
We 100,000 pole screws were delivered in 2 varieties. Mm-hmm. 50,000 each. We're not going to go through those real quick.
I estimate that we'll go through
but don't give too much info. But they'll last several years.
They will last a long time.
But the upshot is we're not buying them so that we can be the source of pole screws for people. We're buying them because in order to get the vintage specs that we need to make what we make, you've got to buy them at this quantity. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to order 100,000 more because I like to have 4 varieties of these. Mm-hmm. And the purpose of it's a different calculus for a company like ours than it would be for a lower priced pickup. Go ahead.
You mean a lower price or just a smaller builder?
Even a smaller or bigger builder. I'll give a bigger builder as an example. They're going to look at, if we're buying 100,000 screws, what are they buying? They're buying, there's, say it's a large guitar manufacturer and they're making like 2,500 pickups a day. These numbers are in the range of what they do. Mm-hmm. Saving, 10 cents on a small part, and it adds up to large dollar amounts. There's no way getting around that for these companies. So the choice is made from the get-go that the specs drift away from the vintage spec if it's a dollars and cents calculation for them. With a smaller maker, the calculus is if I get the parts that require me ordering 100,000 at a shot, that's taking too much cash out of my cash flow in order for me to even do that. And so it's a non-starter from that regard. So what we charge partly takes into account that in order to get the parts we get, we have made the decision from the get-go that if it requires buying these kinds of quantities in order to get what we need in a vintage repro part or component or having our own tooling made, that in the long run, it's worth it if we price properly, and then we can offer something exceptional that nobody else offers. And it's
that's the thing that I always find amazing about ThroBak, that you have something that is very, very accurate, but the people always sometimes get surprised when they phone us and say, well, when will you ship that order? And we always tell them it'll be a week after you place the order and we get confirmation of what you want. So, because everything's made to order, but it's 7 days.
Yeah. So we have,
but like you say, we've got to have a lot of parts on hand.
Yeah, we've got 9 varieties. I think it's 9 varieties of Alnico bar magnets. Mm-hmm. We have to buy 1,500 to 2,500 at a shot to do that. All of that overhead, most people don't want to do. Well, nobody else wants to do it. But it allows us to offer a level of accuracy and variety that no one else. This is exceptional in the industry, and it's not only that it's just exceptional parts or exceptional cosmetics. We have the machines that actually made these things, and all of these, the machines, our level of accuracy when it comes to consistency off the machines allows us to make a wide variety of parts, wide variety of pickups with different specs that are sound different, and we test these in a band setting. We have a band practice every week, so there's a reason the pros use our stuff. One of the reasons is we actually, although I'm not a pro player, we're playing them in an environment that we know they'll ultimately get used in. Mm-hmm. And it's not just about cosmetic specs, although ours are very accurate to vintage, but something like the pole pieces, we have what arrived this week, 2 different grades of steel chemistry that affects the tonal response of the pickup, the treble response. So there's a purpose to ordering these. Would it be cheaper if we purchase them from someplace that just stocks the part and they don't offer a variety of steel chemistry? Yes, it would be a lot cheaper, and it would not be exceptional because that's what everybody else does. In terms of covers, we're known for having the most accurate PAF reproduction cover. They're made with our own dies, where they're made just for us. We have them buffed or ground and buffed in town here and plated in town. And this is right here is an example of basically a consultation service I am giving for free. I have purchased some Gibson custom shop Les Pauls recently, and I was shocked to realize that with some of them, I literally have to pry the pickups out of them. Like they're stuck. I have to remove the ring, the M69 ring, in order to wiggle the pickup out of the control cab, the pickup route, because the sides of their cover is so flared that it's jammed into the pickup route. And the reason that is because those covers are made with what's called a pinch trim die. Pinch trim die will produce flared cover sides. That's what everybody uses now, including Gibson. Vintage PAFs are not this way. They use a flush trim die. Why do I know this? It's because we actually have our own covers made. And when I had the tooling done, I gave a vintage example to the stamper, and they explained this difference to me. And it's important two regards. If the sides are flared to an extreme extent, they will start to get stuck in the pickup cavity. But more important, if that's not happening, the other important spec is if you have too big of a gap to bridge between the cover and the base plate, you just have a very hard time getting solder to bridge that gap. And then the temptation is to clamp that gap, to close it, and then stress over time will create a fracture at that solder joint. Yeah. I've bought several Les Pauls, by the way, custom shop Les Pauls. I really like them. And of course, we're putting our pickups in them. But some of them have sides that are so flared that they're stuck in there. And these are custom buckers I've been taking, just swapping out because I'm using these guitars to demo. Some of the others, they're aware of the flaring, but their solution to it was to bend the sides in on the covers in kind of a very primitive fashion to try to fix that. It literally looks like they whacked it with something to bend it in. In fact, maybe I'll show it at some point. But that's the sort of thing that, multiply this level of sort of attention to detail with everything we make over all the parts and pieces of the pickups we produce. And any sort of choices like that have to do with tone, cosmetics, materials, we're paying attention to all that. Price comes after that. In order to continue to do this, we have to charge accordingly. Have I said enough about that? I think so.
I think you vented quite a bit.
Well, I'm not really venting. I totally agree that there are great pickups out there that are super reasonably priced, and I've given this example.
Sure.
The Baja Telecaster, 60s Baja Telecaster. I love that, the pickups in those guitars. I own 3 right now, and the 4th one I sold to you. Mm-hmm. They all sounded great.
Yep, no, they're very nice.
And I literally bought them thinking I'm going to switch pickups out on this, and I don't want to switch them out because I think they sound great.
No, it's a nice pickup.
So it's like, it's not that it's not possible. But is it the most highly accurate to vintage pickup? No, I don't. I'm not expecting it would be, and I wouldn't expect it to be at that price anyway. But I will also say that this was Les Paul traditional. We get customers contacting us that are putting if we're talking about PA for repros, and a guitar is inexpensive as a Les Paul Studio. Or an Epiphone. Epiphone Les Paul. People may really love their guitar, and they realize the importance of a great pickup in it, and they don't want to spare any expense for that. And that's just as reasonable as someone who wants to get a really well-made Seymour Duncan pickup. So, okay. All right, Matthew, we're going to go to your Rorschach Riffs.
Okay.
Aren't we?
Yes, please.
You did prepare it, didn't you?
Absolutely.
For this 50-second episode. Okay. Well, let's get to you need a guitar. Do you
I'm trying
Telecaster
to, trying to think. Telecaster would be fine. Yeah, we should do the Telecaster. We keep that going. So that's the guitar of the day.
All right. We'll be right back with that. Let's get Matthew the guitar. All right, we're back. Matthew's going to do his Rorschach Riffs. Now we have Paul. He had his earbud. Shoot, we had Paul there. His earbuds, there he is. He can hear us. His earbuds ran out, but we can't hear him. Something happened with the connection. But Paul, if you you could speak, just so they know I'm not making this up. Okay. So if he'll listen, if he knows, we'll go back to him. And if he knows it, he will just do a high sign of some sort. Okay. So, Matthew, we're going to do your Rorschach Riffs.
Okay, ready? So we got 4 riffs.
We got 4 riffs, rapid succession. Let me get something to write on here. Everybody knows the drill. It's 52 episodes of this.
Well, maybe if you're a first-time viewer.
Do we have the Rorschach Riffs for every show? For most of them.
That's a good question. I don't know.
I've only done a few. You've taken the lead on this whole Rorschach Riff thing. Okay.
Okay, ready?
Let's hear it. 4 riffs, rapid succession, and we will recognize these.
Yep. Well, the one you'll recognize, but it may be a little. It's kind of one of those. You'd recognize the song if I can get it right. So,
Okay.
So there we go. Nah, I messed it up. Hang on, I want to do it again.
Okay. I assume that's what okay, oh, that's pretty recognizable. Oh, that's pretty recognizable. Wow, I wasn't expecting.
Just needs to be doubled on that one. For the second one, I'm gonna add a little bit in to make it a little bit more.
Yeah, the second one,
Okay, so should we do them all again from the top?
Yeah, the second one, I think I got them all.
I'll put a little bit of the rhythm in on the second one.
That's the first one, right?
That's the first one.
Yes.
Now put a little bit of the rhythm guitar part in the first one. The second one. This.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, you were a little timing was a little off there. Mm-hmm. Okay.
So do this.
Oh, I know. I think I know what it is.
Really?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you the I may know the title of the song, but which I think would be close enough. The name of the band is like I couldn't.
Oh well, okay. If we play it again, because maybe I'm mixing it up with another song. Then if it's the.
But the rhythm part is. Which to me sounds like another song when I was playing the rhythm part.
Okay.
So that's kind of a tough one.
Okay,
But
let's see
the
if
lick is.
Paul, do you recognize any of those? Put up a finger if you recognize one. You recognize number one. Now, but number two. How about number two? No, do you recognize number two? We know you can count to 2, but do you recognize number 2? You do.
He does? Oh, wow.
Okay, do you recognize song number 3? You recognize 3. Okay, how about 4? Okay, I'm skeptical. Okay, so the hardest one I find, is
it number 2?
Okay, now the first one is Paul. Is the first one is the band name associated with city? Is that a yes or a no?
Do you want to hear it again?
Yeah, I can't hear him. He's just saying. You don't know the name of the band, do you? No, okay, he's just heard it before. Okay, it's Chicago.
Right.
Is it 25 or 624?
Correct.
Is that I have the title right?
That is
right?
correct.
25 or 624.
I couldn't tell you the name of the title.
Okay, now the second one, play that again.
Okay, so the rhythm part 2 or just the
both
part?
of them. know my guess is wrong here. I think I know the song.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, do you know that song? The name of the band? Do you know the name of the band? Is it Neil Young?
No.
Okay, no, he doesn't know. Okay.
I think it's kind of a 70s.
Okay. So I will tell you what I thought. I thought it reminded me of Eric Clapton. And then I thought Badge, but it's not the Badge riff.
No, it's not the Badge.
You know, the kind of bridge or... then I thought, with the rhythm part, I thought Dire Straits. Is that the way you thought it sounded like a Dire Straits song?
No, to me it sounded like the Rolling Stone song, the One Hit to the Body from the record from the mid 80s.
Okay, so can you give me a hint?
Has something to do with driving. The title of the song's about driving. The guys, the vocalist has a very kind of throaty, kind of smoky kind of voice. It's not. I think you're not going to get it.
Okay,
it's just too.
Give me one more. Well, I think I've heard it. Is the American U.S. band?
I think they're British.
British.
I think they may be British. I'm not positive though.
Is this with hit?
I think it was a hit.
What era?
Yeah. I think late 70s.
Play it again.
Just the. Then there's a couple other parts in
Male singer?
Male singer, yeah.
Okay, give me a hint on a phonetic doppelganger for the sounds like.
You mean for the title?
Yes,
the title?
The song.
Let's see what sounds like. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how to get it away. You're not going to get it.
Okay, give me the song.
Okay, the song is "Driver's Seat."
By who?
By Sniffin' the Tears.
Oh my gosh!
Isn't that weird?
What the hell?
But you know the song. If I played it for you, you'd go, "Okay, I heard that on the radio." You probably didn't buy the record, but
okay. Did you like search? Ask Google to give the most obscure guitar band name for good? Okay.
No, I listen. I couldn't do this, but I should give a plug for Spotify because Spotify suggests songs when you're running through something. It's like, oh yeah, I could. You're just listening, going, okay, I could do that. All right, that didn't. Oh, I remember that song. So.
Okay, Paul, play number 4.
Number 3, you mean?
Or number 3?
The next one.
Yeah. Okay, Paul. Okay, he doesn't know that one. Okay, all right. Well, we're gonna give up on him for the moment. Okay, so we'll try for the last one. Okay, so
you don't know. You didn't know that one.
That's Rocky Mountain Way by Joe Walsh
or
Barnstorm.
No. Well, the other band that covered it on their second record, a Canadian power trio, they reformed.
Rush covered that?
No. Another Canadian power trio. They have reformed for a 50th anniversary tour.
I don't know who.
You know them.
Who?
Rick Emmett, guitar player.
Oh, that's right. They did cover that. Didn't they?
I thought it was their song.
Seriously,
that got so much radio play when I was a kid. I didn't realize it was a Joe Walsh song. So Triumph.
It did not get any radio play here.
No.
The only reason I know that is because Triumph was a sort of a early MTV. That's actually the only time I heard of Triumph was through MTV because they had stuff on MTV.
They were big in the States. They were like, didn't they play one of the California jams or something?
But I never heard. Maybe the other people have, but I only ever heard the Joe Walsh version. Okay, the last one, Paul.
He knows this one, doesn't he?
Paul Matthew's going to play it. Okay, is this a band or an individual, Paul? Does his last name have to do with currency?
And there's a ThroBak connection, I think, too, somewhere in there.
Do you know who it is? Okay, I couldn't give him a better hint than that. He doesn't know. It's Eddie Money.
Yep.
2 Tickets to Paradise.
Yeah. Didn't his guitar player? Didn't you have a guitar player?
No,
Paul's singing it now. He knows the song.
Can you do an Anybody Dance from MTV era, Paul? Can you stand up and do an Anybody Dance?
What, like from Shaken?
Yeah. I think he did a thing where he spun around.
Yeah.
Okay. I saw him in concert opening
really?
for The Who.
Oh, wow.
It was a Clash, and they got booed off at the Silverdome. And then I think Eddie Money was next.
And
then
him?
The Who. They liked Eddie Money, I think, because he was kind of in the charts at the time.
Right.
But
why did they like the Clash?
I don't know. I remember the Clash came out, and they had through the first song I don't even think they completed one song, but it had uncontrollable squealing feedback.
Oh, those bad
for some
problems.
of it. But also too, they started late.
Okay.
Very unruly, shirtless Detroit jean wearing, Budweiser drinking audience.
Were they selling a beer in the stadium as well?
I don't even think they were.
Just the crowd was ready to go?
No, there must have been. It was a Miller Tour, wasn't it?
Was it?
It was a Miller. Yeah, I think.
I never
Miller or
saw.
Schlitz? I don't remember.
I never
now.
saw the
It was
Who in there.
It was associated with maybe it was Schlitz. I don't remember. It was a beer sponsored thing, so I think there must have been beer in there. It was in high school. Okay,
And then let me ask this: was it like a good old fashioned Rush concert from back in the day? Like, where there's like 0 women, or there were any females in the
it was
audience?
almost all guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, you did.
That's your Rorschach Riffs.
3 out of 4.
Okay, we're gonna go to your musical musings, Matthew, and we'll wrap this 50-second show up.
Okay, this will be quick. I will.
And you said you wanted.
Oh yeah, put that. If you've got that.
You wanted this here, Michael Bloomfield.
Yeah, I thought I'd talk about, and I had this at this home. This is a sort of a box set.
Okay, hold on. We'll get a better
bigger
shot of that.
and then we can go to that other.
Let's see.
So there's. This comes as a 3 CD, 1 DVD. It's called From His Head to His Heart to His Hands, Michael Bloomfield. I think it came out in 2013. It was produced by Al Cooper. And so it has a very nice little booklet and very nice pictures, too.
You can see that.
You can show that again. There's a nice picture of Michael Bloomfield with his Les Paul. And
now you taught.
I spoke to.
We tried. Did I say, hey, see if you can figure out if there's any history on Michael Bloomfield's Les Paul as to where it is?
Yeah, it was a while ago.
And you called around.
I phoned around, and I got a hold of somebody at the 12th Fret in Toronto, which I think, I don't know if that store's still going. I think that changed ownership.
So the story is his guitar was left at a venue or a bar, or so he just basically left town somewhere in Toronto?
I don't know if it was in Toronto or Vancouver. He suffered from insomnia, and he had a reputation. Like, he did this on Super Session, where Super Session, the record with Al Cooper in the late 60s, was supposed to be a 2-day session. And they recorded for 6 hours on the first day. He went to his hotel and he left. He went back to San Francisco, and that's why they got Stephen Stills in for the second side 2 of that record. And so I think Bloomfield was doing a residency at a club either in Toronto or Vancouver, and he just went home and he left his guitar at the venue, and the owner of the venue said, "Well, I'm keeping the guitar as payment to me because I booked you, and now you've gone home."
Yeah.
And the guy that I spoke to at the 12th Fret in Toronto said that the person who owns it now doesn't want any publicity and doesn't want to sort of talk about it. I think we were thinking about, wouldn't it be interesting if you could get some readings on those pickups and do a Michael Bloomfield kind of.
Yeah, because it's one of those guitars that is sort of disappeared, but it's not been. The history of like where it wasn't like it was stolen out of a truck or something.
Yeah, it's like Eric Clapton's Burst. I guess is kind of considered. I guess maybe somebody knows, or it's just gone and it's just melted back into the
Yeah, but
guitar
this
world.
thing appears to be a little more traceable.
Yeah, I think there's people who know.
Yeah.
But anyway, so Bloomfield is an interesting character because he was really at the sort of the forefront of the kind of the American guitar virtuoso and sort of guitar hero, and he did not like being put in the spotlight. That's what he wasn't about. He really was about playing and sort of teaching. And then if you put that other thing up, because this record is considered one of his sort of better records, because his some of his records are a bit kind of eclectic and a bit hit and miss. But this record was actually a record that was done, I think, in 1976 for Guitar Player magazine, and it was supposed to be an instructional, kind of the tutorial. And he goes through playing various different styles, and he tells you at the intro or the outro of the songs, he tells you guitar he's playing, what amp he's using, and what style of guitar playing he's doing.
Was this on Spotify? Did you listen?
I don't think I could find that on Spotify. I've got a copy of it somewhere. I thought I bought you a copy because I thought this is a really good record. Like and I think it kind of does Michael Bloomfield justice. I think somebody's calling us. Paul's coming back on.
Paul's trying to join.
Well, we can let him. He wants to get back in the party.
All right, Paul. Let's see if Paul.
Yeah.
You're back now. Okay, he didn't
You
want
got
to
my
see
voice
Andy.
now?
Yeah, we got your voice.
But
Did you have anything to add?
No.
Okay. Okay. Well, he's back.
So I'll just wrap up by saying that's kind of what Bloomfield really was about at the end. I mean, he left us way too soon. He died in 1981. He was only 37 when he died, which is kind of amazing because he was there for the recording of Like a Rolling Stone, and he did the Electric Flag stuff, and he did, all these sessions, and he had this incredible fame and everything. But I think as a teacher is kind of what he was, probably really what he wants to be remembered for. And that record is very good.
Yeah, I don't remember you giving me that, but
I thought I might have because it was. I thought I might have seen another copy. So this is worth.
Yeah,
having
it sounds interesting. I would like to hear it.
Yeah. So
okay, that's an interesting musing.
Yeah.
Not to say that the previous ones weren't, Matthew. I'm
Well,
just
put a little time into them.
you called something to my attention that I wasn't fully aware of. That's it, Matthew.
That's it for this week.
So 1 year.
1 year. So on to season 2.
The whole deal of 1 year doing this.
So we have all sorts of
Let's see if we can.
interesting things that I'm sure will unfold in season 2. What key is that in now? That C? Or is it B?
D flat?
D flat, some kind of weird key.
I mean, I did it. Anything exciting for next show?
I think we have a good idea for the guitar argument. We were going to use it for this show, but I think we'll hold it over for next week.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right.
I think that should be kind of fun. And we're going to kind of do that one, I think, sort of sight unseen. So it'll make it more instant reaction kind of thing if we agree or not. So
Here, let's see. Here's Paul. Paul's there. Paul, what were you doing? You were
Working.
putting covers on stuff, right?
Yes.
I'm gonna get a tray of those ThroBak covers that have the flush trim dyed sides.
there they are.
Oh, they're there, right there.
Show us the side.
Show us
Paul.
the sides, Paul, and how they are exceptionally not flared. Look at that. I don't know why anybody is not doing this. And I'm telling you,
Well, they're gonna know.
They're gonna. I'm telling you, this is actually the sort of thing
Well, that's
that
'cause we don't have
it's like consultation info.
We don't have to answer.
It's like seriously. I had to pry them out of the guitar.
Well, we don't. I guess maybe we don't do it because we don't have to answer to the accounting department.
Yeah.
Somebody saying, hey, if you do this or do that, we can save.
And I've got, now I think I know the other guitars that have this going on, because the pickups won't wiggle in there.
They're just stuck.
It's supposed to be a floating system. The mounting arrangement is with the screws and the springs. But if you can't rock the pickup in there,
you can't move it.
It's wedged in there. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I think that Les Paul Custom's that way that I just got.
Really?
That's an expensive guitar. I do not understand why they would be that way. But anyway, okay, I will say this too. We bought these screws. I have screws that are not as nice as I want to use, and I'm sure other places would use them. And I'm not going to alienate a supplier because I'm pickier than they are. But at least on this one, I'm not. But I'm not going to use them unless I find in the context of making stuff that there's something.
Hang on 1 second. Don't sign off just yet. I wanted to say one thing before we leave. I forgot this two items. It's Joe Bonamos's birthday today.
Oh wow! He hasn't not been to Grand Rapids for a while. No,
he's coming to Interlaken up north. The Kresge Theater at Interlaken in northern Michigan this summer. And he's 49 today. Wow. And guess who else's birthday today?
I don't know.
Robert Johnson.
Oh, wow.
Same day. May 8th. He's 1911. And people probably know this is old news, but the Rolling Stones announced their next record is going to come out on July the 10th.
Really?
Yeah.
And a tour to follow?
Well, they were due to tour Europe, but Keith said he couldn't commit to 3 to 4 months of touring, so they held off this year. So, but it's a new record, new material. There's 2 songs on Spotify right now, and then the rest will be released on the 10th of July.
Okay.
There you go.
That's it. Let's see. I'll put the outro music up one more time.
We'll try to get out of here one more time.
So we'll hear it.
There you go.
And then we'll go to the outro screen.
Thanks for watching for 1 year.
Yeah. We got more coming up next week. It goes on.